Welcome to part 2 of my Noldorin Royal Family Explained series, where I look at what kind of people the Noldorin royalty were and what they were about. The sons of Feanor continue on their father's legacy of greatness, chaos, and hurt, as they join him blindly into his war with Morgoth, and leaving the continent of Valinor for Middle-earth. Much hurt is caused by the Oath of Feanor, which they had taken in the beginning of their rebellion. Then Feanor swore a terrible oath. His 7 sons leapt straightway to his side, and took the selfsame vow. Thus spoke Maedhros, and Maglor, and Celegorm, Curufin and Karina, Amrod and Amras, princes of the Noldor, and many quailed to hear the dread words. Be he foe or friend, be he foul or clean, brood of Morgoth or bright valour, elder or mire or aftercomer, man yet unborn upon Middle-earth, neither law, nor love, nor league of swords, dread nor danger, not doom itself shall defend him from Feanor, and Feanor's kin. Whoso hideth, or hoardeth, or in hand taketh, finding keepeth, or afar casteth, a Silmaril, this swear we all. Death we will deal him ere day's ending. Woe unto world's end, our word hear thou, Eru Allfather. To the everlasting darkness doom us if our deed faileth. On the holy mountain hear in witness, and our vow remember, Manwë and Vardar. The first son of Feanor was Maedhros the Tall, and he most out of his brothers is a figure of tragedy and suffering, twice suicidal, and responsible for some of the better and some of the absolute worst actions in elven history. Throughout the Silmarillion he is torn between his conflicting desires and responsibilities. He alone of his brothers stood in opposition to the tension between the House of Feanor and the House of Fingolfin, being a friend of Fingon, his cousin. In the early days of the Noldorin war against Morgoth, Maedhros is captured and tortured, hung by a single hand from the peaks of Thangorodrim, and that torment causes him to wish for death. Yet after he is rescued by Fingon, the fire in him is renewed. And Maedhros, who is now king of all the Noldor, begged forgiveness for the desertion of Fingolfin's people, and gave the kingship to his uncle, though his brothers did not in their hearts agree. By this, and his restraining of his brothers and removal of them to the northeast of Beleriand, he avoided the chance of infighting between the royal houses. Towards the end of the First Age he would attempt to unite all the forces of Elvendom in Beleriand, to put an end to Morgoth. But the union of Maedhros fails because of a mixture of bad luck, past wrongs and bad blood between elven groups, and the betrayal of the Easterlings. Thereafter, in the Noldor's slow defeat, he and his brothers in the pursuit of the Silmarils would be responsible for the destruction of the Sindarin elven realm of Doriath, and the sacking of the havens of Sirion, which was essentially a refugee camp. These were the second and third kinslayings respectively, though Maedhros wanted to hold back from the latter. He put the oath above all else. He was a nice person, but he was no saint, and led his surviving brothers to genocide. This he does one last time in desperation at the very end of the First Age, fearing the eternal darkness that breaking the oath would bring down upon him. He convinces Maglor to sneak in to the camp of Eonwë, the herald of the Valar. Then they fight their way out with a Silmaril each, only to find that by their actions their right to the jewels had perished, and the jewel burned the hand of Maedhros, and being in anguish and despair he cast himself into a gaping chasm of fire. The second son of Feanor was Maglor, the greatest poet and minstrel of the Noldor, and he is a much more passive character. He seems to have followed Maedhros' lead from his diplomacy with the houses of Fingolfin and Finarfin to the kinslayings in Doriath and the havens of Sirion. He shows a greater willingness than his brothers for selfless action. In the matter of the raiding of Eonwë's camp, he wants to forego the small chance that they might fulfill their oath in order to leave off their last act of evil, and it might be this greater level of compassion that brought about the love between him and the twins Elrond and Alros, who he raised after the sack of the havens. The third and fourth sons of Feanor were Celegorm and Curufin, and they often appear in the Silmarillion together. After they are driven from their lands in the northeast, during the Battle of Sudden Flame, these two attempt to gain power over and influence the southern elven kingdom of Nargothrond, ruled by their cousin Finrod and later Finrod's nephew, and they think to usurp its throne, though they are never able to despite their initial successes at drawing the populace to their side. These two are much more like their father in personality, with Curufin being the most alike. Celegorm is a harsh person who doesn't mind threatening his cousin or the entire kingdom with war, or kidnapping an elven princess with an evil intent. It is Celegorm who initiates the sack of Doriath, and his servants leave the young princes of the realm to starve in the woods. Curufin, on the other hand, is softer, but more crafty, and he inherited his father's skills of craft and speech, and he sways the Noldor with his words. The fifth son, Caranthir, I will introduce using the first dialogue of his that comes up in the Silmarillion. In the early years of the First Age, when the Noldor first treat with the Sindar elves of Doriath and their king Thingol, Caranthir's cousin Amrod returns with a less than favourable message from the king, and Caranthir's approach is to move straight to antagonism. But Caranthir, who loved not the sons of Finarfin, and was the harshest of the brothers and the most quick to anger, cried aloud, "Yea, more, let not the sons of Finarfin run hither and thither with their tales to this dark elf in his caves. Who made them our spokesmen to deal with him? And though they be come indeed to Beleriand, let them not so swiftly forget that their father is a lord of the Noldor, though their mother be of other kin." Then Amrod was wrathful, and went forth from the council. As haughty and antagonistic as he is, Caranthir is pragmatic, and he establishes a business relationship with the dwarves, despite his scorn for them. He also has an appreciation for bravery and valour, and by this he comes to admire the race of men. Of Amrod and Amras, the sixth and seventh sons, we know little, except that they were twins alike in body and mind, and that they did not take an active role in fortifying the north of Beleriand. The next video will be about Fingolfin's children. I'm looking forward to finishing the family tree, and if you like these videos, I hope you stick with me through to the end. Now goodbye guys, until next time.